you click on comments, there should be a private chat.
Yeah, it's a
Oh, yeah.
We just went live, like explaining StreamYard stuff. Yes, hello.
Actually, I still haven't not seen the stream on my side.
15 seconds on my side now.
Yeah.
As I'm fiddling with trying to figure out how to put this SD card in here.
Come on,
SD card, that technology is so old, TK. Just get over it and pay more for less features. Everybody knows that's the right way to do tech.
Dude, you got it. You got it. I will pay more and get everything I don't need. That's pretty much what I'm going to do right now.
What's that?
Yeah.
21 Ultra.
Yes. Yeah. I finally got the case for it with the pen. So.
Oh, nice. How's the stylus?
The stylus actually is not bad. It's a little bit different than the other ones. It's not powered, so that's about the only reason why it doesn't work over Bluetooth. So it doesn't have any power. But other than that, I think it's reasonable for what you want, and I feel like it's a little bit better than standard Note because it actually is the size of a regular pen. So if you're using it,
I do appreciate how measured you are in your It's reasonable. As I'm getting excited to spend so much money on the most expensive phone that Samsung makes, it's adequate.
It is totally adequate. It is totally.
I am whelmed.
Yes,
I'm not underwhelmed. I'm not
overwhelmed.
Does it bulk up the phone quite a bit? That case.
So hold on. I don't think I have it somewhere. So it does add about this much to the actual phone because you have to have this entire non-symmetrical, non-symmetrical, and the pen is on the left, which is really a little bit off. So for me, as I'm using it, I have to.
I don't know what you have against left-handed people, TK. Why do you hate the left-handed so much?
No qualms with anybody left-handed. My concern is I'm not, and.
Oh, it's all about TK. That's the only way to use a gadget is the way that TK needs to use one.
Oh, do you want to see something else a little bit more convoluted? The pen is on the back, right? So I have to flip it over, grab it over, do this. It's just, I'm loving the fact that they're adding S Pens to a lot of things.
I don't see a problem. Samsung
I don't think the
made a
ergonomics
product for one specific kind of use, and everyone just needs to adapt to the way that Samsung makes things, and it's the only correct answer. There is no other competition. You can't put your money anywhere else.
We will assimilate. Is that what the answer is? This is
resistance is futile.
Exactly. Okay.
I
got it in.
We've completely hijacked your show with our terrible comedy shtick. So let me get out of the way here.
Let me just do the introduction. So we actually cut up the podcast to start with. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody that is joining on the live stream and actually is hearing the podcast. This is a conversation about tech. This is episode 4. And I'm joined with a full house today. I got Troy from WhatGear. It's another UK content creator. I got Tarek
reviews from the UK,
better known as TK Bay. And
Sabaho, everybody.
And right here in this other corner, the chill guy, Juan Bagnell, some gadget guy.
What I'm totally approving of is the general shifting from shill to chill. Yeah. I'm cool being the chill guy. I think that would be a nice change of pace from my normal cranky gadget rants.
Yeah, it's you actually are when you're cranking, you're still chill. So
yeah, we'll keep this chill. I'll stay off the soapbox as much as I can.
Nah, it's fine. It's this is like the title is from the podcast. It's a conversation about tech. We're just gonna talk and see what we can find good and bad about stuff, and we're gonna get to know a little bit about everybody here. And I already know a little bit about TK, how he started. I know a little bit about Juan, how he started, because I heard the other live stream, the other video that he recorded with Audio 46, and he talked about his beginnings. And
that was a really fun conversation. Yeah. Again, I've been nerding out on audio gear a lot lately, and the Audio 46 crew was really gracious, letting me kind of come on and again, it was cranky. It was a cranky rant about tech too, but I really appreciated their conversation.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And if you haven't seen that video, you can actually I'll post the link later on so you can go check that out. Even though we're going to talk a little bit about Juan also, how he went from a Hollywood star to
how it all went downhill. Is that the story that?
Yeah, exactly.
I was
about crash as the cautionary tale of how not to run your career, and then everyone will be better off than me.
We got a lot of people. We got Greg was the first one that showed up like 15 minutes earlier before the stream. He was already
on it.
We got Joe. We got Mr. Second half of Across the Podcast, Matt Tyler. We got Ayer, 1980. We got Roger, Life of Tech. We got Gary the Fireman also here.
Woohoo! Everybody, dude, you got a nice fully stacked house there, right there.
We got Aditya.
We do all have hats on,
and we got Argus Gaming too. So
I put mine on because I noticed I was the only one that didn't have one. So
I gotta be cool. Again. One of us. One of us.
So let's start really quick with Troy. He's the furthest guy away from me. Yeah. So, hey Troy, I would just like to know, and I know you talk about this in with Sam and Matt before, but it's just a little bit of a review on how did you started with tech
origins.
And the origins.
Yeah,
and they're calling me from my job. I'm not going to work tonight, snowing. But
so a long, way back when Sony used to sell laptops, I used to be the guy standing around in the shopping center trying to sell people Sony laptops. So we had quite a lot of internal training about the product training. So basically, stuff you would tell the customers in order to make them buy it instead of something else. So they did some internal competitions where you could win stuff if you made the best video about a product training video. Mm-hmm. So I did. I won the first one pretty handedly. And then people started watching it on YouTube. And I started seeing the views going up. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I know about a few more products. So I started doing more and more, stupidly thinking that Sony might see it and be like, hey, this guy's good. Maybe we should give him loads more stuff. That didn't happen. To this day, I still struggle to get anything from them. But that's how it started.
Nice. That's
original.
Bio laptops.
Yeah, I was good at selling those too.
They were as expensive as the Bravia TVs back then.
I love the Vio. The Vio series was always unique, and they always had like very nice. They had their own style of laptop. It was never just the standard, cut of the mill laptop. So you always got something special. They had attachments, adapters, docks, and stuff. I missed that line.
They were like the flagship from the laptops back then because they were bulky, but they actually were the first one that started getting like really slim in the laptop because back then you had compact laptops, you had HP were in the game of laptops too. So we had a few, but Bio was like for the high class, like what Apple is now. Back then used to be for Windows.
The premium product. I'll tell you a cool little fact about the Vio. Have a look at the logo, the Vio logo. Mm-hmm. The design of it is the waveform sort of transitioning into ones and zeros. Have a look at the logo next time you look at it. So it's the waveform and then the ones and zeros.
Yes. Interesting. So
it's cool.
They use the audio waveform. It's nice. I think if I'm not mistaken, the Vio brand got bought out, right? I don't think they're totally out, but I don't think it's a Sony brand.
Yeah.
I think it's a little Japanese like HMD using Nokia as like a label.
Because I was going to say, if you go to vio.com, I think it still exists. Respectively.
Well, now is Tarek's Bay turn, and it's been
one of the only people that refers to me as Tarek. But yeah, exactly the waveform.
Wave, into binary. It's cool, isn't it?
Exactly. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Tika, I know you've been part of the XDA developer forums for a long time. Because if I've been there for almost 14 years, so that means that you've been there probably even as long or a little bit longer than me.
a little bit, maybe just a teensy bit, just a little bit earlier than that. Around, I actually started with Windows Mobile. That's how I got into XDA. I bought a phone from T-Mobile. It was the original MDA from T-Mobile, and I was really frustrated with the problems that it had. And I started looking up online and researching. And that's when I started, installing custom ROMs, and we actually had to overclock that processor just to get it to run normally. So that was my initial foray into smartphones, and I guess at the time as a slider, but it was a Windows Mobile, I think I want to say Windows Mobile 5 before Windows Mobile 6 came out.
Yep.
Like real OG with an actual pen.
Yeah,
that
I had the one with the S Pens too.
Yeah, exactly. With the tiny little screen and at that time, and I'm like, oh man, that is a large display. I look at it now, I was like, what was I thinking? How does that even make sense?
Yeah, but that's the way Windows was transitioned with XP. They work together, everything, because that's the reason I had it, because I had what was the last one? I think it was the last one was an HTC actually that I had. That was with Windows.
HTC Tilt. I think it was the HTC Tilt. AT&T had the last model of that device, of the MDA. So the MDA was the first. The HTC Tilt came out after, and then after, I think that was when they start switching over to more candy bar style smartphones and no more sliders. But
yeah, there was I used it because I used to do everything through Windows XP, so it was kind of like the way that Apple does right now and Samsung is trying to do right now. So it was like, for me, it was Windows Phone. I used Windows XP, so I like the stylus. Because actually the only way you can work that phone was with the stylus. If you try to click the screen, you will click.
The menus were very small. Yeah, the designers built the UI with the elements being used with the stylus, because otherwise you'd either undershoot or overshoot it. And then I think I transitioned to the iPac after that also had a stylus, and then the HTC Tilt that has also had a stylus, which again, and I was able to even run Android on the HTC Tilt originally, because that was originally when Android was starting to show up, so they were able to dual boot it on Windows. So it was a nice way to have both. It was slow, but it was nice.
Yeah, but it was fun because back then not a lot of people had phones with stylus, and I think Palm was pretty much king at the time. If we had to go by phones that were stylus based, it was Palm with the stylus and then BlackBerry with the keyboard. So. I never owned a BlackBerry. Everybody around me had a BlackBerry. I never owned a BlackBerry. I had Windows Phone, and then I went to Android directly. So
I went Palm, so Windows Mobile, Palm, BlackBerry, Android. I had to go in that kind of architecture. I think I forgot the name of the BlackBerry, the Priv. I want to say it's the Priv. Maybe it was like one of the really nice, sleek, one of the better looking one right before the Bold came out. And then I decided not to go to the Bold, and I decided to go with the Nexus One. So that was like how I jumped straight into Android. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go full bore. It'll be nice. It has a mouse trackpad. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I think with software itself, I had the Windows Phone, and then actually before the Android, I went to the Razer phone. Actually, I had a Razer from Sprint. It was the red one. It was because I wanted red. I went to Sprint because it was the only place that I couldn't find the red one. And then hey, Siri want to talk too.
She's being helpful, man. She's being helpful. She's jumping in the conversation. You said you wanted a red one. It knows where it is. So that's how it is.
But yeah, then I went to Android, and actually it was HTC all the way down until the last HTC that I had. That it was the Touch Pro.
Yes.
That was the last.
You're bringing back a lot. So remember the old Touches run, right? They used to have that cube interface where they used to kind of like the whole 3D effect. One of the big thing that I tried doing is porting over the touch effect from the Touch Pro over to the MDA, or even over to the HTC Tilt. So we were playing with trying to change the interface, the UI element that HTC started to develop, and it was a lot of fun. It was just fun. It was easy. There was no locked bootloaders. There was no custom recovery. You literally just had to get the files and flash them and see what works. So.
That's how I started with going into XDA developers. That when my HTC, I wanted to root the phone and I wanted to put a custom ROM. I had where I found it, and you know who actually was the first guy before me that I learned from it? Mr. Tim Scofield, when he used to do his video about rooting phones, and that's how I got to know about XDA, and that was 13, 14 years ago. That's a long time.
It is. It's a long way. But now I'm mostly just focusing. I mean, I do still every once in a while for XDA. For the most part, it's, as you said at the beginning, it was basically TK Bay and Tarek Bay, both the Arabic and English channel. And then there's the collaboration with the guy with the red hat.
Who?
The red hat. Linux Central right there. I keep forgetting he's on the right side. He's Linux Central right there, Mr. Juan.
Juan, we if people haven't heard about your story a little bit, just tell the guys here, even though I will link it down.
My story's all long and boring. I came out of voice acting and voice directing. I did a lot of casting, commercial work, and even worked at a talent agency for a while. And all that time, I got really tired of having to answer the same questions about home recording over and over and over again. So I started kind of writing a blog. And at that time, when I was working at the talent agency, we weren't really allowed to have kind of public profiles. If we accidentally gave up any proprietary information on Hollywood projects. So I was kind of under the radar, and I came up with this moniker, Some Audio Guy. So someone would come in and be like, hey, so I'm really thinking about getting a USB mic and setting up a home recording booth. And I'd be like, check out this guy's blog. He's been writing up some stuff and some tips and tricks. And that way I don't have to have this conversation with every single voice actor that's coming into the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of got the attention of a couple audio brands, and they started sending mics and interfaces and stuff for me to kind of check out and review. Spent a lot of time with headphones. And then in the early days of or I should say in the later days of Nokia with Symbian, the PR company that was working with Nokia just said, like, hey, we love your content on audio stuff. Would you want to come and hang out? We're going to do this meetup in Vegas. And I'm like, yeah, I'm there. And from there, it kind of just sort of slowly snowballed into more consumer tech. So going from like high-end recording equipment over into headphones and speakers, not pro speakers, but more consumer grade stuff. And then that kind of led to more gadgets and phones and tablets and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can see Matt says that you came out of a LG lab.
Oh yeah, that's Matt. Matt's just cranky because he can't get any cool phones to the UK. I mean, it's like
but
he can't get any LG, so he's just salty. It's not that I'm a shill; it's that he's a hater. So,
or if we try to send him something, it does take 3 to 6 months before he gets there.
We've had 2 failed attempts at getting Matt a phone in a timely fashion. And not incurring the wrath. So the last time Matt and I did a swap, and what was it? It was for the ROG2 and the G8X. And it's now been over 2 years to file the dispute on all of the import taxes for those 2 phones trading hands, because according to shipping companies, well, you owe us hundreds of dollars for selling this phone. And you're like, we didn't sell this phone. We've got these receipts and we've got these records, and we traded and sent it back. I mean, nothing about this was even a purchase. It was kind of an exchange. And it took me almost 2 years of fighting with FedEx to put that right.
Yeah, it's like when I used to deliver. I used to go to deliver a package that used to come from England or something, and then they got this little slick that they have to pay $500 or $300 or whatever amount.
Import tax.
Yeah, and people is like, but why I have to pay? I already paid the shipping. Like, this is not the shipping. This is a tax. The company pay in advance your tax, and now the company is requiring your tax back. That's what they do. Because, for example, UPS is the company that I work for.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to go to the house, and it had a tax. It's literally, I had to explain to people that they didn't understand that the problem is that when it went through customs, UPS paid the custom fees to bring your package into the States. And now they're asking the reimbursement of the tax that they put up, because they didn't charge you the tax when you were in the shipment. They only charge you the shipment. Now, after they went to custom put the amount of tax that they want to put on the product, and now they're charging you that extra. And so people were not too happy about having to pay $50, $100, $200 extras and stuff like that. But that's how it is. Everything that goes through, most likely to the UK, is most likely where that's happened. Like,
and that's fine. But again, it was an infuriating process, right? Because the situation was, they paid up front on something that never happened.
Yeah,
and there isn't an easy way to rectify, like, like, let's say my mom was in the UK and she needed a phone and I sent her one. Like, that's not a transaction. That's a different kind of exchange than what these taxes are meant to represent. So it was just a frustrating process. It did eventually work out, but it most certainly wasn't worth my time. At some point, it was like, I'm doing this on the principle of the matter that the legal definition of what you are charging us money for never took place. And FedEx was like, I don't know who you are.
Hey, I see Troy has the S21.
Yeah,
so
I'm happy and I'm sad because we don't get the Snapdragon version out here. And I've thought about importing it, but like you just explained, the import taxes are ridiculous. So it wasn't worth it. And it would have taken way too long. But
I was trying to pick up the S21 Exynos.
That's the title for your video anyway, right? Is Samsung Galaxy S21 not worth it? Wasn't worth it. I mean, we can just stop right there. That's the review, right?
I do like the phone. I like it. But yeah, I wish I had.
I don't know. Just talking about like Exynos and the fact. Well, I like it. Again, I'm hearing someone who's whelmed. I'm not hearing someone who's like, this is 1,300 pounds, and I'm rocking this, and I'm so glad.
Yeah, I think like after you've tested so many phones, the kind of initial buzz of a new phone is kind of a little bit lost on me now. But yeah, I'm not overwhelmed with the phone. It's not massively better than what I was using before, but I do like it. I like the style of it. I like that finish, that kind of that look. I like that.
Yeah, it's just the S21 is like, for me, it's like the iPhone 12. If you had the version before that one, I don't recommend it to nobody because it's not worth the money for the exchange for a product that is almost as good as the one before. And yeah, it's almost as good, like, because there's when I got the iPhone 12, when I bought the iPhone 12, there was a lot of people asking me, oh, should I upgrade to the iPhone 12? And my answer was straight no. If you have an iPhone 11, you're gonna get practically the same. It's not.
It's I'm definitely being really snarky about Samsung because I feel they're representing a very hypocritical kind of marketing. It's really less to do with the phone itself and more to do with the culture of the company. I'm becoming less impressed with the way that Samsung is operating as the market leader. I want to hold them to a higher standard because they represent so much of the conversation for the gadgets that I'm really passionate about. And so when I see them making these types of pivots, making fun of Apple, making fun of Apple employees, making fun of Apple consumers, and then turn around and like 6-month windows copying everything that Apple does that makes their company more profitable, it leaves me with a very bitter taste in my mouth. When I can see that the next chairman of Samsung is going back to prison for fraud and for stock manipulation. And after that slap on the wrist is going to be sort of at the wheel of this mega corporation again. I don't necessarily love supporting that business model. I would prefer having some other options to point people to if they'd like to spend their money somewhere else. So it's less to do with the fact that the S21 is probably a perfectly fine phone. I'm tired of billing these phones as the latest and greatest, most amazing, revolutionary update. And then you get the phone and you're like, yeah, it is better. It's like a little bit better than an S20 was. And I lost features. And now I'm a little bit cranky about that. And then we look at all these headlines. 9 out of 10 consumers out there see no benefit to upgrading their phones. It's because of this hype train. It's because of this system that Samsung has created to just bombard you with Samsung everywhere you go. But then you actually get the product in your hands and it's like, okay, yeah, this is fine. I didn't need to buy it. It's doing the same thing for me that my old phone did.
Yeah, and the thing is that people get into this idea that the newest phone, but all of the companies or most of the companies, they give you 2 to 3 years of software updates. That meaning that you should think that that phone should last you a good 2 to 3 years without having to exchange it, because that's the whole idea of having keep doing updates and security patches on the phones, because that's the expectancy life of the phone. And people think because the newest one came out 6 months out, and then you hear them saying, "Oh, but they just launched a phone 6 months ago, and they launched another phone." Like, yeah, because that's how they try to keep you in that loop and trap you and to keep changing phones. And guess what happened with those phones? Those phones, they just literally take them back if you do a trade-in, and they just sell it again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're not keeping them; they're reselling them. They're making their money off the same thing, and the trade-in, depending on the trade-in value that you did. But I think at the end of the day, it is at least with the 21 where that feeling wasn't as much, because I felt like the 20 from the S10 was a big jump. We had the first Ultra release, the larger display, the bigger battery, the faster charging. We had a lot of larger camera sensor. Yeah, exactly, a larger camera sensor. The first 108, but to me, that felt like an upgrade. That was a big shift for Samsung. It's almost like when they went with the S7 to the not the S9, from the S9 to the S10, it was kind of gradual, but the S20 was a big jump. The S21, I feel like it's really geared towards somebody that maybe with an S8 and S9 that's looking to upgrade. I don't think it's an S10 or an S20.
Even then, though, this is striking up a conversation that I really love. Again, this is an opportunity for us techies to kind of mix it back up with our family and friends, because if you really listen to what your family and friends, what they say they need, I think there's a really strong argument to point them to an S20 over an S21. I think the Ultra is a different conversation just because Samsung actually is putting their best into the Ultra. But if you're shopping more around that actual mainstream consumer tier, someone who probably doesn't have $600 to $700 just to slap down on a counter, and they're going to have to go with some kind of carrier payment plan, I'm very positive on walking back to an S20 or S20 Plus, an S20 FE, and I think you actually end up with more phone where it matters for those consumers. Again, I mean, sit down and tell them, like, hey, you can spend $50 for an extra bit of storage built in, or you can spend that $50 on a memory card that's going to triple the amount of storage. You might care about this feature over that feature. You might care about the screen resolution. You might care about all these ways. Samsung Pay being a mag stripe. There are all these things that you can get for cheaper now on an S20, and still walk away with a brilliantly powerful device that's not going to blink at any of the apps or services that you use.
Yeah, it's just it used to be niche down to people, and now it's more likely the companies are just pushing out just the top tiers of the phones out, because back then having a Note phone was like you had the high-end phone, and and you're a techie guy, you're somebody that liked those features and like to have the premium phone, the latest. And the S line was more for regular customers that just want a phone. And then depending on where you live, you had the A series somewhere. But then it just got pushed into like the S21 or the S series is now the top tier of the phones.
The S was always the top. Now we're making the S21 mainstream at the price that used to be the most expensive. And we're trying to lobster pot up. So we've turned the S21 into a replacement for the FE and charged more than the FE. And then we're cooking up from there to get to the Ultra. And I don't know. I mean, like Troy, I always find this kind of interesting because here in the United States, we just don't have nearly as much competition in the mid-range. I have to believe that where you're at, when you walk around, when you're just out at a grocery store or something like that, you're probably seeing a much greater variety of the purpose-built mid-rangers than we see here in the United States.
There's been a push definitely in the UK with a lot of the Chinese brands like Oppo, Realme, but majority of people just want Samsung. They want Samsung or Apple. That is the go-to devices. But Oppo and Realme and even Xiaomi are starting to get a look in now. Definitely. But people,
even with Apple and Samsung, are you seeing people shopping Pros and Ultras, or are you seeing like some more A series than we might see here?
For work purposes, a lot of companies will use the cheaper Samsungs for sure.
M51s for everyone.
You get one, you get one, you get one.
We want you to have the most battery and the lowest powered phone that we can sell you.
Yeah, that's kind of the approach. I think the mid-range does pretty well, but there is the trend. Most people will say to me, "What phone should I get?" I'll say this one. They'll be like, "What's that?" No, I just want a Samsung. That's normally the conversation. Or I just want an iPhone. Even if it's an older iPhone, people will even buy an older iPhone over the latest Oppo or Realme because they haven't heard of it. So there's a big sort of push out here in the UK to get those brands out there, and we're starting to see that quite a lot. And Realme just bombarded me with about 10 phones every quarter, 10 new ones.
Yeah, it's all about publicity. It's the way companies approach the advertising, because Samsung pushes a lot of money into advertising, and people in Apple also. So I guess that's why companies like Xiaomi and even Huawei, it probably were hurting on that side of the things, because people only see in the TV an ad about Samsung. It's Samsung, Apple. Samsung,
You know what?
Apple.
Huawei were doing really, really well here just before the ban. Like really well. I know people that switched from iPhones that had been iPhone fans forever, switched to the P30, I think it was at the time.
Yep.
P30 Pro. And then as soon as the news came out, they sent the P30 back, got the next iPhone, and haven't gone back since. And they're not going to risk it again after that. But the Huawei devices are amazing. The Mate 40 Pro was fantastic. But
crazy.
It's such a shame. Do you know what? I wanted to ask you guys from XDA, the Google Fire, is that a legit method of getting Google apps, or is that risky?
So I will say this: it's not an XDA format. The app or the developer itself was reaching out to XDA. It's an easy way to install and get Google-based applications running on not everything. So anything that's running EMUI 11 won't work on it, but anything EMUI 10 or earlier, you can. And then if you upgrade to 11, it'll keep it. It works. It's actually pretty simple to install it if you think of all of the different methods that are out there, it's very simple. You just have to follow the step-by-step, and it actually, it just, like I said, it works. And if it doesn't work, it'll bonk on you in the beginning. It tells you right at the beginning that it's not going to work, so you don't have to worry about it. But I would definitely back up your phone before doing it. It's a decent way of getting GMS on it. But you have to keep in mind, it's not true GMS, it's side-loading it, right? So not everything will work that really needs all the backbone stuff that's built into Android. But it's a decent one.
Would you trust your YouTube account on there? Looking into your YouTube on one of those devices.
The method that they're using is very much the LZ Play method that we've used in the past. This is just a modified version of it. So if anybody's ever comfortable with the older methods, this is no different. It's the build. The essential difference between it is that you're using it on an app that is basically meant for internal purposes for Huawei that was then exported and everybody else was installing it. Do I trust my Google account on it? I'm not going to lie. I've used my Google account on it before. So you're referring to the YouTube channel. The YouTube app itself, if you think about it, doesn't really do much other than give you access to seeing what the channel can do. It doesn't really, it's an enclosed application. So if you're able to run it, it should work. And I would probably say it's more of a personal preference. I can't 100% say it's safe because LZ Play by itself, we don't really have the source code for that. So you have to kind of see where it's coming from. We're still using the same Huawei built internal app that basically expires after Android 10.0, or actually after EMUI 10. I take that back. It's because they're still running Android 10 beneath EMUI 11 because they can't upgrade to 11 yet.
Yeah,
I was thinking about trying it, but I was a bit worried. So
yeah, no, I know a few people that had the Mate 30 Pro, and and also some even Honor phones. And
Yeah,
they used to like the safe features of the Huawei phones. Like they had like that extra lock apps that nobody can see, and all that safety security people. Like if you give your phone, somebody needs to do a phone call, you swap and just give them only like the phone itself with just the phone app and probably a message app. So and about after that ban, like people forgot about that safety features that Huawei used to have on the phones, and it's all about how they're stealing our identities and stuff like that.
That conversation, I mean, depending where you fall on the conversation side, you know, at the end of the day, the biggest driver thing right now with Huawei is the fact of the GMS services. Outside of China, that is a big factor for any smartphone that you buy. If you're not able to get them on easily, like Google Fire, the way we're talking with Troy, it's a little bit intimidating when people start looking at the original method required a lot of exact step-by-step rebooting, removing, clearing cache, uninstalling, reinstalling, a lot of manual things that people just maybe got overwhelmed. But once you remove that, I mean, a lot of the development, a lot of the innovation that we see now today, like the multiple sensors on the back of our smartphone, was started with Huawei. If you really see what they've helped push in the sense of just camera, I would say basically the elements, the sensors, the way our cameras are set up right now. iPhones have multiple sensors because of them. Apple was living the single sensor for such a long time. I mean, Pixel have them now. It's hard to forget all of that. At some point, hopefully that conversation gets resolved. Honor was able to figure out a way into working it, because as we saw with their first device, they're now using MediaTek as a processor. They're not even using the Kirin, the high silicon processor anymore. So we'll have to see how Honor does. And Honor was also very big in the UK. I've traveled a numerous amount of time just for Honor-based events in the in the UK, in Germany, and so on. So I hope Honor is able to bring back some of that that demand that was for Huawei in the past, because they have a lot of heritage that they shared in the past.
Yeah, now they became a separate company, so it shouldn't be attached to Huawei in that sense. But
we'll have to see. Yeah, that story is still developing.
But yeah,
it's a zero chance of Biden making a change to that policy with China.
It's a really complicated and entangled situation between our State Department and the way that we put entities on this list. And honestly, I feel like the Biden administration is already showing sort of a different focus of policy on sort of local on our regional politic. So I hope that he appoints people to the heads of these committees that can kind of take more reasonable action and get back to negotiating tables in a more reasonable way. I just don't think it's going to be super high on their first 100 days list of political action.
Yeah, it's not going to be a priority for the Biden administration. And
I feel like there's been some fairness in some of the ways that Huawei has done business in the past, that they were probably due some kind of corrective action. You know, there have definitely been claims of like IP theft, and there was a recent sting with the FBI with a Huawei executive like trying to make off with a new proprietary compound for diamond glass, and it was this like really crazy espionage story of like corporate influence. You know, so I feel like there's definitely, for the consumer side, I feel like there's definitely been something to the idea that Huawei needed some kind of slap on the wrist, or like I said, like some kind of corrective action in a legal sense. But I feel how we've conflated Huawei as a consumer electronics manufacturer versus Huawei as a telecommunications manufacturer has been somewhat disingenuous, or at least intellectually dishonest in how we've been like, oh, you have a Huawei phone, China spy on you. Our concerns with the telecommunications infrastructure side don't always line up the same with the consumer electronics side. And I feel if there was good evidence to support that Huawei phones were just pipelining all of your data to Chinese servers, that we'd be able to track that pretty easily. And so I just found the evidence supporting that kind of lazy association.
Well, it's like I'm talking about probably close to 20 years ago, when the United States said that analogs had to be prohibited, communication and everything has to be turned digital. and and the whole idea was protection. It was like, because in analog you could cache with a single scanner any conversation, even from a phone, and that's the whole idea, protection. But with the digital, they had control of that, can monitor what is coming through conversations also. So that's a way of saying that they were going back to Huawei. But I think it was more, even though, like you said, it was some tricky stuff going there, but I think it was most likely because the Trump administration were looking into try to bring everything to the United States. Everything has to be controlled here, corporations and stuff like that, and manufacturers. And he wanted to try to figure out a way to control and ban stuff that was coming from out of the States. But still, I think Huawei, with everything that happened, I think they still a good company. They probably have to wait a long time to get back to the US right now. There's not going to be a close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as we kind of see some of the rumors as to whether or not the Mate series might be spun off and sold as a smartphone division, and then also what I feel like in light of this ban, the Chinese economy is probably going to start ramping up and scaling up to meet some of these other demands with in-country chip manufacturing and other types of component manufacturing and distribution. So, I mean, it's a really complicated and entangled. It's never as simple as we think this company bad, we cut them off. I mean, it had rippling effects throughout the entire telecommunications industry, and walking it back causes another ripple effect of just unforeseen consequences on how all this stuff goes down. The global economy is so large and is so intensely complicated that these small changes have ridiculous, far-flung impacts that we can't predict.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing down here on the screen? Something in pink? Nope. No. It's getting better now. But yeah, it's but just talking about a little bit about everything. I was gonna put this point out here for all of you guys, because yesterday we were noticing a lot in TK's stream, and is how YouTube is dealing with spammers and bots.
Oh yeah,
you mean they're not dealing with spammers and bots?
Yeah, because yesterday, while we were in TK's morning stream, it was just back to back messages. It was like probably a bot or whoever have the spam system going on. It literally shot like 20 back-to-back messages on TK stream, and and me, Aditya, and all the guys, we were going like, "What is wrong with this?" Like
I caught a couple of them. A few of them when I started seeing, because of the delay that goes on. It's hard to kind of control it. And the way StreamYard does it, though, unfortunately, I have no control over Twitch. But on YouTube, by the time I see it, which is also the other frustrating thing, like even if Matt is in the chat and he let's say he bans a person out of the chat, it doesn't take them out of StreamYard. StreamYard still shows me the comments, so there's a little bit of a like they don't communicate well. So I ended up having to ban a few on my side for them to kind of hide or pause people. There's ability of putting somebody on timeout, I guess, in StreamYard. But the pink effect, I didn't notice it on my side. So I don't know if we're saying it's like some kind of is it an artifact in the feed, or is it just in the chat?
It was literally constantly on the chat. It was like the feed was just like you had somebody sent a message, but that same person sent another, and it was just literally back to back. And then after that, you had somebody else doing the same thing, and it was like 4 or 5 different, and it was just quick messages back to back. And I was like, and me, Dalvin Davis, we were all like, what the hell is happening? And the thing is that Matt couldn't be all the time yesterday on the stream. So the messages kept popping up, and that's why you were missing a lot of the messages when you were trying to go through the messages, because there were so many that if I put a message, it just got blown up of so many messages that came after.
Yeah.
What are they trying to achieve by doing that? I don't understand that. Is it fun for them or something? I don't understand.
I'm not sure. I mean, one of them was asking for a giveaway, as they typically will usually get. But then there was another that just kept pasting over his exact same. It was the same post over and over and over and over. So you're basically trying to just get your attention. It's more of the how do I get the how do you make it so that I can see it? I guess that's a better way, because from my end I get to see it shows up as 4 at a time. It does stand out in the timeline. But yeah, it's mostly just attention, if anything else, and just spamming a feed.
Yeah, and the problem is that it causes an issue, because if you have people that are actually trying to put legitimate questions to be answered, and TK or Juan or whoever is doing the stream can't read that question because all the spams just push this question up, then the people get frustrated because they probably will ask the same question, and then they might get look as they are actually spamming because they are asking the same question.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating, and people will just jump out of the stream because like, well, I don't get no answers. I just rather go look for my answers somewhere else.
It's a hard thing, and we get them also on YouTube videos as well. We get all those the plethora of bots with all the different sub accounts, and all of them, they put a time code with like me or something like that. Those are crazy. I just
ban them immediately from the channel.
I try to set up filters, so you can set up filters in the comments, right, to exclude certain comments that have the title. So I've excluded anything that refers to the word girls, because if you're ever using that word as in a comment in one of my videos, you're on the wrong channel. So that I felt like if I excluded certain things, it catches them, but they still go in there, and then they put time codes with the heart and kisses and all of that stuff.
Oh, poor TK. We can't talk about girls.
It's maybe after dark and on that show, but not on the normal.
I took a turn you probably didn't intend it to take.
No, that's not how I thought the morning was going to go today. I thought it was going to be. I was going to say, are we going to talk Super Bowl, or anybody want to put in any kind of big event today?
I am so out of touch with the American football.
I'm pretty sure there's somebody that is going to join the stream soon.
I feel like Troy probably can contribute more to that conversation than I can at present. So
no, for them it's handball, it's not football. So
they have the original football. Oh yeah.
I mean, I'll be the first to say, I love some American football, but it is like, what do we want to call it? Like safe space rugby? Is that what we want to say it is?
Yeah, more or less.
Well, but there's a guy here that he's gonna be going crazy if Matt does not let him watch some football today, and it's this guy right here. And then
no.
Oh yes.
Love the shirt.
Love the hat.
If you notice, I have worked on an office, so I painted it, and I don't know what it's called. It's not a coral color. It's not burnt orange. I don't know what it is.
It's not orange. It looks orange on this end.
It's kind of orange, but it's almost like a coral, but not pink, but not burnt orange. I was really going for a darker burnt orange. It didn't work out.
It's like a peach color.
It's peach.
Well, that's why I was telling TK and Juan is they seen something pink down on the stream jars, because literally when you came on, it was pink.
Oh yeah, Mike opened my laptop and it had a stroke. I was like, "What is this color?" It freaked out.
It was all pink.
Yeah, so it's all. So no, I'm excited for Hand Egg Super Bowl. Yeah, because it's
Hand
awesome.
Egg.
Well, that's okay.
A few more hours.
I'll tell you this much: this is my thing. If it happens to be, if Tom Brady wins today, he is the greatest quarterback ever. Not totally the great. That many Super Bowls, that much championship, he's awesome. That's the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. Period. It's over. There's no more discussion. It's done.
And he's from New England. That's good.
Well, and it just goes to show you, it was always that dichotomy of, is it Belichick or is it Brady? It's never been Belichick, because I don't care who you are. The players play. The soldiers fight. I don't care what the strategy is. If nobody's playing the games, it doesn't matter. So it's not. It didn't surprise me that Tom went to Tampa Bay and now they're in the Super Bowl. And it's okay because the NFL is just a quarterback league anyway. That's all it is anyway. It's always been for 10 years. It's look at the last 4 teams in. Look at their 4 quarterbacks. Probably the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I would probably argue so. So here you are.
We'll have to see. Our favorite American pastime will start in a few hours, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. How this is actually going to be a very unique version of it. If anything, it's during the current situation going on, and obviously not as many people in the stands, and with a lot of people are concerned what could potentially happen in a couple of weeks if a lot of people congregate too much. But we'll have to see. It is life. It's another holiday.
Super hand egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in my first podcast, Mr. Sam was in the hot seat. It's time for Matt Tyler to get on the hot seat. So
actually, it's pretty cold. Freezing right now.
It's freezing here. It's
no worries,
freezing.
it's snowing out here too.
It's always cold.
Well, Matt, the same question that I asked Sam and everybody that has joined me before. How do you start it with tech? How do you start it? Like most of the people that I actually talked to, everybody started with some type of gaming before they started on tech. But how do you went around and starting with the love for tech and stuff like that? Because I would like to hear you. Like I heard Sam and
I'm not sure, because as far as I can remember, I've always loved tech. Even when I was a kid, I always had the phones, the flip phones, this, that, and the other, the latest gadgets here, the latest gadgets there. It was only sort of 8 years ago, I started watching YouTube and this, that, and the other, and then I found people like the dude in the red hat up in the corner, and the guy underneath him, and the guy here somewhere. This dude, this British guy, and I just I don't know. It just sort of evolved from there. The more I watched the videos, the more I learned, the more I got interested, and then before you knew it, I was invested.
Yeah,
and now I can't get out. I just cannot get out. Everything interests me, and that's it.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. Everybody that starts with some type of love for tech, and they go deep into it, and they want to learn more and see the changes, and what gets better, what gets worse in the tech, and most of us just do it not because we only love tech. It's because I'm pretty sure most of us would like to learn, teach people how the tech works and how the tech improves and how it's going to make it better for people. Because it's not only the love, because I love tech, but I like at least on my end, I like to tell people what is good, what is bad, and how to use stuff. And that's not. But
yeah, people tend not to listen. They just sort of. You can tell them what's good and what's not, and they'll still buy an iPhone or a Samsung.
Oh yeah, but you see,
it doesn't matter.
But we are like, I'm pretty sure you saw Juan's video, yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, or it was on Friday. Your Patreon, the Patreon one that people not listening at tech people because they're talking about the tech itself, not telling about what the tech can do for you, and that's why people have lost the interest on tech. And that's the thing, and I literally totally agree with that, because you got the iPhone guys that don't want to look at an Android phone, and vice versa, and it's not that we are here to teach them why it's better or worse or how to use stuff, because some of the people actually are afraid to learn how to change and use another device. It's not only.
And also, I feel like there are other conversations that we're missing because we've been so conditioned. And I'm speaking from a North American perspective, where a lot of consumers are going into a carrier store and dealing with some kind of carrier lease or some sort of
financing
contract,
exactly,
kind of financing. Thank you. Some of the conversations we just completely eclipse because we're so focused on Galaxy Z Fold 3 is going to be $2,000. How amazing is that? And it's crazy, and let's focus a bunch of videos on that. We're missing some of those conversations where we can point someone to a device that rightfully should be getting cheaper because their needs haven't changed. As Sam brought up, I did an hour-long conversation with my wife as we replaced her G7 with a Pixel 4a 5G, and it's fascinating because she took a step down in tier. She went from a premium tier workhorse LG to a more mid-ranger kind of device, and over those years from a G7 to a Pixel 4a, her needs haven't increased. Her processing power demands haven't changed. So if you keep it the same level, we should expect prices to keep going down. And so over the course of that conversation, the most excited I think she got for the idea of a future phone was a challenge to see if we could spend even less on whatever phone replaces her Pixel 4a. Because again, I don't think her needs are going to fundamentally change. So instead of, you need better cameras and you need better screens and more megapixels and more giggle flips, we're going to see, like, can we spend $100 less in 2 to 3 years on whatever we replace that phone with? And I feel like there are a lot of consumers that would really dig on that conversation, but techies can't get out of their own way for like, oh, you need this and it's an ultra and the other phones aren't really worth it for the monies, and it's just so much better. You can totally tell by this 1080p YouTube video that the photos are magic, and that's all nonsense. You go to someone and say, like, hey, are you still using your phone the same way you've been using your phone for the last 5 years? Here's a way that you can cut your phone prices to a third of what you were gonna spend and still have a totally fine, a totally reasonable experience.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with that. And people do not need a $1,300 phone when they can buy a $700 phone or $500 phone that might do the same for what their needs are. It's not that they need to spend the biggest. I've been working around my head to do a video about how you don't need to pay insurance for your phone, because it's because if you spend $10 to $15 in insurance for a phone, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm gonna look for the study because there has to be a study about it. Pretty sure like 85% of the people that pay the insurance do not use the insurance. They do not use the insurance, and you're paying 10 to 15, and we run it at 10 for 12 months. For a year, it's 120. And a year, your phone already lost that value. And if you have to pay, if something happened to your phone, you still have to pay another 150 to get it replaced.
Yep.
And you're getting an old phone because you're not getting a brand new phone. You're getting a phone that went through the Assyrian company that are the ones that usually insure the phones. And you're gonna spend double the amounts of the phone, and even the phone is not worth it anymore.
I mean,
for the price.
that's true, but that's also why it's so valuable for consumers to have conversations outside of the advice they get at a carrier store.
Yeah,
because your depiction is correct, except that you need to say that to someone who's probably upside down on a phone lease.
Yeah.
There's another good reason why so many phones start at these super high prices and then have price cuts and sales 2 months later. It's because the carriers are still selling them at that top tier price. And we can sit here and say, oh, well, you should have shopped better, or you should have waited for a sale, or you should have had a trade-in. But the phone value is set so that you can make it look more attractive by cutting it up into monthly payments. Well, we all know that. Yeah, and a free gift, and you totally didn't pay. I mean, they're still making a ton of money off you buying that phone and giving you that free gift. But we all know that if you buy at that MSRP and you split up those payments, 2 months in, you're upside down. The phone is not worth anything close to what you're paying monthly, and you still have 22 more payments to make.
It's like a car. I mean,
and it's even worse than a car. Yeah,
right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you buy a brand new car, as soon as you get that thing to your house, you've depreciated the vehicle $3-4 grand, and then try to flip it, and then you're stuck with it. So, it's a mess. But and it's like my wife. I mean, she's a perfect example. Probably pretty similar to Juan's wife. It's like she was going to get an iPhone. It didn't matter. She doesn't care about Android. She doesn't care about KaiOS. She don't care about Ubuntu. She could give a rip. She was getting an iPhone because that's what she likes and that's what she wants, and she is general consumer, right? General consumers. So it gets to the argument of, are tech reviews going to start to get to the point where it's like you're only talking to 10% of everybody, right? Because nobody's paying attention. My wife doesn't watch this stuff. She could care less. She's getting an iPhone. She's never switching to Android. I've asked her, and she's like, yeah, you got a better chance of finding Jimmy Hoffa in your basement than I am going to Android. This is not happening, right? And he's not, by the way, we're clear. He's not. I checked. He's not there. He's in Giant Stadium Zen Zone, I believe, is where the last time he was supposed to be. So it's what will the phone do for you? And again, if you want to spend $1,400 on a device, you can. You know, and this argument that it's like, well, you know, I can't buy a Maserati. Well, sure you can. If you can afford it, go buy the car you want. If that makes you happy and that's the you need. Now, you're not going to tow a 2-ton trailer with your Maserati. You can. You're going to blow the differential out. That's going to be fun. And I want to be around when you try because I'm going to watch that back end just explode. But again, it's like, who are we talking to? And it's like, let's not have that argument. Let's try to be good tech ambassadors and try to be Jimmy Hoffa. Well, it's not Hoffa Jimmy. That way without the Hoffa.
You're saying Jimmy Hoofa?
Yeah.
Who?
Jimmy.
Yeah. I think he's making fun of you being really old. I think
that's okay. I think he made an octogenarian comment. I'm not close to 80.
Old.
But I think, Sam, to your point though, is that there's also the opportunity to point out those alternatives because I kind of claim a little bit of victory in my circle of family and friends that the iPhone users are becoming the minority. And when we have group threads and conversations, it's all the iMessage people that are messing things up. It's not that they have this better ecosystem. It's that they don't get texts, and Apple has made it more restrictive and more difficult for them to interact with other people. And so now my dad's on a Pixel, my mom's on a OnePlus, my sister and her husband are on Pixels, my brother's on a Moto. When you can spell out the value proposition beyond just brand fandom, you're so much more valuable to your family and friends in being able to guide them where to put money. You can really say like, okay, what is it that you do on your phone? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What don't you want to lose? Headphone jacks, what, talk to me a little bit more. And when you can kind of plant that seed, that it's not just Sam Apple is the only viable conversation in this space, you can make positive change. It's actually pretty easy to accomplish. Some shift away from just this notion of, do you want the right label? If all you care about is the fashion flex, then Apple has the product for you. That's great, and go and run with it. I'm not going to tell you how to spend $1,500, but if you're trying to have a more reasonable conversation about price, performance, and productivity, then there are these opportunities to kind of wedge in there. And at least kind of change some hearts and minds. It's really not a zero-sum game just because YouTube is weighted to this popularity. The YouTube tech sector is maybe responsible for about 2%, maybe influencing 3% of all of the smartphone consumers out there. I mean, if I add up all of the views on all the popular tech channels and understand that there's a huge overlap as people are going from like, one tech YouTuber to another tech YouTuber. So these aren't all unique hits. I mean, like what MKBHD reaches 0.03% of the global smartphone market when you add up all of his views, assuming they're all unique individuals.
And Barack Obama, by the way, he's one of those 0.03%.
Yeah, and also just look at a Barack Obama video on MKBHD did not do as well as a Sony Xperia Pro video on MKBHD. So when we talk about influencers, how much influence do they really have? I'm going to say not as much as we think they do.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's the whole thing I'm thinking about doing the video. It's just because if you add up all the insurance payments and everything that you pay extra for a phone and that you really do not use, you can buy a case, you can buy a screen protector, and if your phone falls, probably you're gonna even save money anyways because you only pay once for the screen protector and pays once for the case. The case can be dropped probably 1,000 times before it actually breaks. So the phone,
I mean, my dad's new phone would be cheaper to replace in its entirety than the back glass on a new iPhone.
Yeah.
So I feel like he made a wise purchasing decision for him.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. If you put all that money together that you are saving just for your insurance, and you add up, probably, let's say you have to pay once for replacements on the screen, that is another 150. When you add up to the year, you got probably $300, and at $300 you can buy a brand new phone like this one, like the Nord 10. So and it's $300. So you literally bought a phone only by saving the insurance. So I really am not like none of my
sorry. The point I was trying to make though, Rolando, is a lot of people I feel need the insurance because they're not buying the phone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like you can't walk out the door at a carrier store and be on the hook for $1,000 phone and not. I mean, if you need to replace that phone, if it's damaged during the course of your lease, then you need the ability to flip that. And again, it's all the value proposition. Is people aren't really buying $1,000 phones. They're not walking in, putting down $1,000 and walking out with the phone. They're playing financing tricks to get a niftier piece of technology.
But yeah, that's the thing. Really expensive, like a Fold 2 or the even the S21 that is a $1,200 phone, $1,300 phone. You definitely will need some type of insurance if you're in that finances system. You're financial with that phone, because the whole idea of financing that phone or have those settlement payments for 2 years is because that's how long you're supposed to have the phone. They're going to trap you for 2 years on that phone. And if you add 10 by 2 years, that's already 240 at only at $10, if that's the case on that phone, because some insurance, depending on the cost of the phone, that's how much insurance you have to pay it also. It's not that you pay only 10 flat, it's 10, 15 depending, and not all the insurance
on the carrier.
And you got insurance that are there are like $7 insurances and $10 insurances. And the other thing is that customers do not ask about how the insurance is covering your phone, and some of them do not cover if you get wet. If you get damaged by water, it does not cover your insurance. So you're literally not covered on that point. And
you have to be careful.
People do not ask. They just literally get it. Like, oh, we had the insurance, we had this is your total payment at a month. Sam, what do you want to say? I saw you thinking.
No, I was like, Juan's like, no, he goes and buys it. I was like, I may have done that once before.
I do, but
we don't count.
I did that thing.
Not emblematic of any type of mainstream consumer for all of this conversation that we have about average consumers.
No,
like, we do not resemble that. Sam, we own duos. We are not anywhere near.
I will tell you though. Yeah, we're Juan and I now. Juan, when you here's the thing. Duos. I don't know if you.
What's one of those?
You know what it is. Quit being such a.
The UK doesn't seem to understand what these things are.
He's an average consumer.
Troy can relate. He's my UK brethren on this one.
But here's the thing. I will say this, and this went into my purchasing decision, so I'm not even going to lie about it. I don't know how many times I've had that phone out, and I've used it just to, like, I'm at the store, like I was at Best Buy, or I was at Lowe's. We were looking to get some paint because I painted the room, right? And I was looking at something. I wasn't even paying attention. And the lady was like looking at me, and I'm like, why are you eyeballing me, lady? What's going on, right? And you're like, you plotting on me, boy? I was like, no. But she was like, what is that? And I said, well, what, me or this? And she's like, the phone you're using, is that a phone? I said, no, it's a mobile computational device.
The answer is yes, no.
Yeah. So I mean, everywhere I go, people ask me about this thing every single time I'm out. No matter, I'm at a restaurant, I'm at a store.
If I'd got that one actually out of UK customs,
yeah,
people here would never have even heard of it before.
Yeah. It's like you put heat in there, you put your sandwiches in there, and you heat them up, and it's like a little pocket.
The point, it was so close, man, to getting it.
Yeah,
it's so close.
And
And
I'm telling you, I'm never, ever going to get tired of this. It's so nice. It's just, I as a full computational doing work, answering calls. I have it works for me, and I still got my mate. I still got this. So if I need to take pictures, right? If I need to take a video, and I just rock a secondary. Oh, and guess what? I got a mic.
Congratulations.
And then I got that, and
He has no idea. I have
no idea.
Clear, he has
Sam's
no
off and
idea
running.
what he's doing. He's got no
I got one of
idea.
those.
Set it up.
Oh, dude, that's what we use. Well, that's what I have.
That's what I got.
Well, again, I have no idea. I was like, yeah, it doesn't. Just stick it in the top. I just stick it in the top, right? It's. I don't know what I'm doing here. And I got a little.
Stick it on the top, and just hopefully it works.
And I got a pop mic that's metal. I don't know what that means. Apparently, it's better than
screen. Yeah,
pop screen. It's metal, not fabric. Sure. Okay. Why not?
There are pros and cons. I actually I feel sonically a mesh or nylon pop filter works better, but having worked in recording studios, they are flipping impossible to clean, and you don't realize how much particulate leaves your face until you've tried to scrub down a pop screen. And metal pop screens, a lot easier to occasionally take some type of rag to clean that gunk out.
So
Well,
anyways,
he got mics and new setup. I got a new mouse.
I got a new phone. So anyways, I it's all good. So it won't be for today's show, but I'll have to work on it. So I was getting the setup of the room. So, but yeah, I just
you guys getting all growed up.
I tried.
What do you mean? I cannot partake
Matt,
in
I'm
this upgrade
specifically talking
right now.
about your reasonable purchase of a good piece of office equipment. You cannot undervalue the benefit of a good mouse.
I think
so.
Sam
No,
lately, Sam is gonna turn.
it was quite a nice mouse. I liked it. It was on Amazon and it's got good reviews. So
I bought this mouse
literally a
because
mouse.
it doesn't make noise when you click it, which drives my wife crazy because I'll get up like 6 a.m. and start
Never heard
playing a
of
game or whatever.
TechNet.
And
Never heard of them.
it doesn't click. It's like a clickless mouse. $20.
I'm totally guilty of that. Marie's trackpad on her Surface Book has the most obnoxious cluck sound, and are we like you can just tap. You don't have to click the button. Just lightly tap. That's your left. Okay, cluck.
Oh yeah, I had that Surface Book, that cluck sound. Yeah, when the whole pad. You're like, hey, Chief, you can go ahead and just tap. You don't have to. You can shut. I can shut my face. Okay, that's fine. I'll shut my face. I'm just gonna cluck.
Like, well, why are you putting on headphones? And it's like, because you're using your laptop.
You're clucking, lady. I can't cluck. I mean, it's real. Yeah, I had that Surface Book
because he thinks I'm saying something else. So like, stop clucking.
Sam hates when I clickety clack on my keyboard when we're on the show.
Dude, your clickety clack sounds like dropping a paint of can
That's
paint
because
down
I
the
got
stairs.
one of these generic ass clickety clack.
Oh, I love me some clacky keys, but you will often just now.
Yeah, well, I'm like
it's
like this
that you can.
And you can't do that.
On it. It's the considerate thing to do if you need to type something out while you're in the middle of a live stream. I'm just saying.
No, he's okay. He just likes to drive me crazy. Okay.
I just like to clickety clack.
Clickety clack. Don't talk back.
I saw actually.
Yeah.
He got a mic.
Nice.
I'm gonna do his head in. That's pretty much what it's going to be.
I did post a video, but then there was some B-roll missing right in the middle, and I had to pull it down. So it's going to go live in about half an hour. But I'm telling you, this bit of tech is probably the best bit of tech I've ever been sent ever, and it's a robot vacuum. And I've known about these for a long time, but I've always just thought as gimmick, it's gonna just get stuck and
that's why I was gonna ask you. I saw the.
I tell you what, this thing's amazing. Cool. It's amazing. It really is. I'm blown away by how good it is.
Yeah, I have a dog that will destroy that thing. He will kill it.
I thought mine would.
I know mine would. He literally eats rags and like socks and like chews stuff. Right? Yeah.
Your dog eats everything that is not.
That's why do you think I went off screen? Because he came back and he had a box with an LED bulb that I set on the counter. He had it in his mouth. I'm like, looking at me. I went, where'd you get that? He looks at me like, I'm gonna eat this bulb if you don't come get me. And he took off running. So I had to change. So if I get a Roomba or something, he'll destroy it. I'd love to get one, but he'll kill it. He will kill that thing.
I got 2 cats here that will see that as a
Just right on top of it.
We'll just follow it.
I'm doing a giveaway as well. If anyone wants to win one, have a look at this latest video.
Oh, I'm gonna watch anyway. I don't like to watch for the giveaway. I'm just gonna watch because I want to check it out. But that's cool. I mean,
It's good. It's good.
But yeah, just as a refresh, if you're in the live stream and you just catch up to the live stream and you didn't have time to watch the whole live stream, you can actually download the podcast anywhere where you like. It's going to be an audio version of it. I got Troy from WhatGear, Juan next to him, some guy. Below me, I got Mr. Matt Tyler, and next to him, he got Sam. Both are the Across the Pondcast team. And on the corner, we got Mr. Tarek Bay, TK Bay. And
I can't celebrate. I'm the second half.
Sam is the first half. You're the second half.
I don't know how that happened, but there we go.
but yeah, this is a conversation about tech. We talk about the guys behind the content creation, and we talk literally anything about tech and what is happening lately on the tech space, and try to bring you some content and knowledge about how we think about tech and what is best for you and everything else that is involved tech. And Sam, Matt, you got a full house also today in your live stream.
That's a little bit of an understatement. I may have overshot the limit of what we.
And just so you know, we don't communicate that back and forth. So yesterday, the other day, I get this text message. Hey, we're gonna have like a guest. I'm like, cool. He's like, and then like, here's a bunch of other people we're gonna have on. I went, well, what are we doing? He's like, we're gonna have a bunch of people on. I'm like, okay. I hope you're gonna handle that logistically because I have no clue what's going on. So yeah, we don't communicate show ideas. I got nothing. So we got a bit. We got a
Let's
busy.
Just say it's definitely an overshoot. Like, but it's gonna be great.
It's going to be a smorgasbord of awesome content. So we can't wait. It's going to be
so
good.
Make sure that everybody that is going to hear this or is watching, make sure that you go and right after this, probably an hour after this one, you're going to go to their live stream. They got it on Twitch and YouTube in both places. So you can, it's going to be linked down in the description anyways. But I know for a fact that you got Uncle Spurt, Mr. Tech Expert in the live stream. That's your main guest for today, but I saw that you got Sack Talk Tech.
He's like the third member or something like it at this point.
Yeah, he's kind of turned into our own drunk guy. He's like your cousin that sleeps on your couch for like a week with like 4 days growth, right? He's kind of chilling, drinking a couple of pints. He's turned into our cousin that's hanging out on the couch for a week. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like
but yeah, so I know you got Sack from Sack Talk Tech. You're gonna have TK is gonna show up too. I think I saw Jeff is gonna be there too. Hefe is gonna be.
I think
dude, wait, where is he?
Troy's coming.
Troy's coming.
This guy.
After he sets up his Roomba and gets his clean on, and then he's gonna.
And he left.
And he took off. Yeah.
No, I'm here. I've got to go off for my Sunday roast in a minute, so I've got to have that before I rejoin you guys.
Gotcha.
Roger is gonna be with you also.
Dinner time.
Proper Sunday roast.
Life of Tech.
Yeah.
Jermaine, I think Jermaine. I saw. Did we see Jermaine in there?
Yeah, so it's going to be a bunch of guys joining in. So it's going to be a fun Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. So
you guys are going to be testing out the limits of StreamYard. We'll see.
It's going to be
testing the limits of Sam's bandwidth.
It's already like
Clicks host and 10 people turn up. His internet's just going to go. Dah.
It's going to go what? Yeah. All 38 gigs of it, all 38 megabits per second, man. I'm coming with it.
I got 1 gigabit.
That's all we need
on a 10 gigabit LAN cable, and I don't know why my stream still looks like 720. So
this guy, I got 1 gigabit with a 300 like a terabyte RAID drive. So how do you like that? Yeah, because he lives. I know. Look at Juan. I actually made him. He's like, what is happening right now?
We've only just got gigabit here.
Yeah.
To be fair. Where I live, not in England. I mean, just where I live.
No, I did it on purpose. No, it's just I there's no chance. I mean, I got a better chance of really at some point. I'm thinking that there's no chance they're ever running fiber out here, so I'm never getting anything.
You got more chance of me walking to your house from here than you've got getting fiber.
What about Elon Musk's? Is it Starlink? Starlink? Is that
if I want to drop back down to DSL prices at DSL speeds at like 10 times the price.
Sure. Ugh, yeah, that
sounds great. Competition. Wow.
Competition for the world. Eventually.
1999 competition level. Yes, definitely.
Come step on Virgin Media in the UK. Please. Their prices just keep going up. Somebody needs to come and help us.
So I had a bullet notepad here, and we just literally skipped most of it. So that's the whole thing about having a conversation about tech. That's the whole idea. It's just we're talking about what it comes at the time, and we are pointing out what we think about the tech and stuff like that. But one of the things that I wanted to ask is, like, pretty sure all of you saw the video that Dave 2D put out with the leak on the 9 Pro, the
Hasselblad.
Yeah,
Hasselblad OnePlus 9 Pro.
So the thing, real, not real, close to be real.
It's
as real as Juan's hairline.
Whoa. What? What happened right there?
See you guys.
Make fun of the guy with crazy psoriasis.
I'll just
pick a man when he's down, I guess. But that's cool.
Wow. Oh.
Now, the branding exercises are always kind of interesting because, Hasselblad doesn't want to dilute their reputation in the camera market. But the one big mobile experiment that they tried was that awful Moto mod. So I feel like this is an opportunity for them to kind of bring it back. I feel like if a camera manufacturer wants to be more relevant to a modern consumer, that label starts to mean something when you can, like Zeiss. Zeiss means something to a lot of people because of the mobile devices that label has been that label's been on. And Hasselblad, I could be kind of curious. We keep having these criticisms of OnePlus cameras that I don't think are particularly fair, but it's just the general techie knowledge that OP cameras are lame. Why not change that perception by throwing some cash at a strategic partnership?
Yeah, but
we'll have to see.
It seems like a good idea because a lot of them are doing it, like Leica and, like you say, Zeiss and stuff like that. So,
which the interesting part is to see realistically what we see, even though it looks realistically like an actual device. Keep in mind that OnePlus always has one-off devices with demos, or even sometimes like early prototypes. And I think they did that with the Nord. They showed us all the different prototypes they had. But the reality, we need to just see exactly. I mean, we're not too far away from when the 9 Pro is supposed to come out. And if it is Hasselblad, are we really getting that much more benefit with the lenses as far as not just the software? Because like Juan mentioned before, the Moto mod was a very interesting experiment on the Moto Z Force. I used it on one of my trips. I had it as a loaner, and it was decent, but it zoom level.
It was genuinely terrible. Hey, you were with me at that influencer dinner where we were taking photos with the Z Force and with the Moto mod. And
absolutely, it was horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible when it came to that. Yeah,
so much better just using the camera on the back of the phone than using that Moto mod.
I've got to disappear off for some food now, so I'll catch up.
Go and eat your Sunday roast, man. Proper British.
The only time that mod ever worked for me, Juan, was when I was on a cruise with the family, and there was so much light, and I was taking pictures of actual glaciers. That's when it worked for me.
No, I mean, I believe what you just said is it never worked, and I would have been better off with just a standalone point-and-shoot camera rather than this abomination of technologies that was way more expensive than it had any right to be.
Way to go, TK. Way to screw that up.
That's how we do it.
Trying to help Juan out here. Thanks for doing me a solid, man. I was trying to tell you this is like the worst thing ever made ever, right? Like the Yugo, right? It was like the Yugo. Was that too old?
No, because the Yugo was a car you could drive and actually get places.
What?
In. The Moto mod was
just... I knew a guy who had a Yugo. He had a Yugo. God love him. Oh man,
no idea what you're talking about.
No, me. My sister-in-law had one. But, But yeah, it's I saw that it's like TK was saying. I know they like to do a lot of prototypes about the phone. I just literally worry about the price that phone it might be coming out, just because Hasselblad is an expensive company, and pretty sure they're not, even it's a partnership, it's not going to be too cheap to try to bring in their cameras into a phone. So I don't think it's going to be a cheap phone, probably in the realm of $1,000, the start point, probably somewhere around there. But yeah, that's the whole thing. It would have been good. It's just, I think if OnePlus updates their software and works a little bit more in the software, they can do better even with the cameras that they have right now. Because
I like the cameras that the OnePlus 8 Pro.
Yeah, I thought they looked
really
pretty good.
I mean, again, when we
So
put up the
good
OnePlus
cameras.
8 Pro against like a Note 20 Ultra, and you're saying main sensor to main sensor, I really don't get where Samsung gets this reputation for being so an Android standard. I really don't like what they're doing with HDR. I really don't like the unicorn puke saturation color processing, which is just built for Instagram.
I hate that so much.
And you put that up against the OnePlus 8 Pro, a sensor size that's almost as big as the 108 megapixel sensor on the Samsung, and you've got very comparable raw performance. The base photo image quality is very, very similar, and I actually do kind of like OnePlus's post processing a little bit better than Samsung's these days. And then you take it to the ultra wide, and I still don't know of any other manufacturer outside of Huawei that has used a larger sensor on the ultra wide. So you've got one of the best combo shooters from standard to wide, where I mean Samsung would probably be a bit better from standard to zoom for the telephoto experience. We're all really impressed that like Galaxies can now shoot 4K 60 frame per second video from their ultra wide cameras. The OnePlus 8 Pro is doing that. And you could switch cameras on the fly. It's one of the only phones that's ever pulled that trick off. So to sit here and say like, oh, because this one photo test of an influencer picked up a Samsung, and you could totally tell by the pixels on a 1080p video that the Samsung was far superior. Like, that's all nonsense. I mean, it's all brand fandom, and it doesn't really account for what the real world experience is in using these things.
Yeah, I never did the video. Because actually, I think it didn't make no sense for me to do that video. When I got the Note 20, I had the Note 10, and I went to the Bay Area right here, and I took pictures and recorded in both phones, and they literally looked the same. They looked the same, even with a bigger sensor.
I don't believe it. I can't believe it.
And I actually recorded even on this phone on 8K, and compared to the 4K, and you cannot notice anything
worse
difference
at this point with the stabilization of 24 FPS. Probably looks worse in 8K than it would in 4K.
Yeah, the only advantage on this phone was the zoom capabilities in picture mode, but in recording, it's just literally almost the same. It's as good as the Note 10.
That's what got me interested about the Xperia Mark III, is the fact it's got a periscope lens. With the video pro modes, it's going to be one of the best zooms you can get on a phone.
And if you want to get
with all those controls and the periscope lens, no, you're not going to beat it.
And most likely, if you see all those pictures that are taken in Samsung phones, we got me and TK. We got a common friend here, Wayne Gilbert. He's a mobile photographer, and he uses Samsung phones for all his photography. And his photos are amazing. He's all landscaping all around New York, everywhere. But guess what? He don't use the Samsung app. He uses Filmic Pro. He uses case moments with moment lens, so he's actually enhancing the experience on the picture. It's shoot on a Samsung phone, but it's not legit.
It doesn't really matter if you're shooting on a Samsung. Like, if you can match the hardware and use those same apps and accessories and camera lenses and adapters, then you're going to kind of end up with a very similar experience across a number of handsets. And that's where it's valuable to know. I mean, like, if someone's going to fault the OnePlus series, it's that OnePlus really hasn't opened up their cameras for the full support of the Google Camera API. So your experience switching over to Filmic isn't going to be as nice as if you're using. Actually, I think Sony does. Sony supports it now properly.
Yeah.
But a Sony, a Samsung, an LG, any of those other players that are kind of opening up more of their camera resources. So, I mean, that's a fair criticism, but you can't sit there and crouch that as an average consumer criticism. That doesn't benefit the mainstream general audience who we've said, tech reviewers say, only pull the phone out of their pocket and push the shutter button and then put it right back away again. If we're going to give Samsung that benefit in their reviews, then we need to give OnePlus the same benefit in those reviews. If we're going to say that there's a professional argument to be made and you sleep on a Sony, then I have to assume you're really bad at tech and you're really bad at photography. So, again, it's like we keep moving the goalposts back and forth for whatever team we want to see win, as opposed to saying, like, consistently, this is what the experience should resemble.
Yeah.
The only consistency I've seen is everybody's going to hate LG this year. No matter what they do, someone's going to moan about something they've either taken away or not put in.
Right. But I mean, let's be fair. I mean, as a fan of LG phones, because they genuinely have been the best options for me to get my work done, it's this messaging vacuum always makes me critically anxious about what LG might do in the market. And the only thing that I can take some solace in is let's say the outside rumor of LG completely leaving the space is true. I'll have Sony to fall back on. You know, I'll still have at least one manufacturer that cares about my ability to use a product, because it's not going to be Samsung. That's not going to be my gig. But again, there's big news happening. A lot of people threw around opinions on an internal memo that really wasn't as hellacious as they were trying to make it sound. And now the general conversation is LG's leaving the smartphone business, when that's not what that memo represented at all. But it's up to LG to actually stand up and lead the conversation on their products. And it's always been the problem with LG. They let the market decide for them what the representation of their products should look like, instead of trying to drive a conversation about their products like other players do. We can look at sales numbers, and Sony sold 1 million phones this last quarter, and that looks terrible. But the Sony smartphone division is in the black, is still profitable, shows increased profitability on fewer phones being sold. Sony isn't going to care. They're great. The division isn't costing us money. Keep doing it. Whatever. We're cool. Again, we have this crisis of messaging and marketing that seems to be getting in the way of some brands that are doing a lot better than techies would otherwise indicate.
Yeah, it's just that's the whole thing. Samsung and Apple, they're machines on advertising and pushing stuff. And
but they're pro. For everyone, it just works.
Yeah, but that's like, we go back to the Juan videos and the what I tweeted after his video. We as tech reviewers, we post out here, it just to get to a certain percentage of the people that actually are interested in the tech. The other big percent of that PR team goes into the advertising, and that's how they push their devices out, and that's how they can get like Samsung, they can't spend millions on ads, but LG can't do that. Sony can't do that because
LG can't do that. I disagree with that 100%. LG's got tons of cash. They're huge,
but they just don't want to. Remember, we're talking about phones. We're not talking about TVs or any other brands that they actually are profitable on. They profit better.
It's definitely, and to Sam, and I'm just going to jump in real quick, because I got to get going too. So I just want to drop this and then run away so they don't have to fear the fallout of it.
Drop and run,
right? You know, it's
that's what I should have done a minute ago.
Cable news company style interview tactics here. But to Sam, and where I think you might be going with that idea is, a massive, huge conglomerate company is a whole bunch of internal. It's not one. LG isn't one thing. It's a bunch of small divisions fighting for attention, fighting for budget, fighting for resources. And we've seen this more successfully in like the modern incarnation of Microsoft. They don't care what platform you're on. They want you tied into paying yearly to use their services. And they kind of got over themselves in that degree. Even Xbox. Like the main play on Xbox is leading us towards game subscribing, monetizing features, as opposed to you always need to buy the most expensive box under your TV. And so I feel like there's a path forward for LG that's just working better internally, having some synergy with the other departments. Literally every LG commercial for an appliance should show an LG phone operating that appliance if we're going to make these smart products, and you make that clear, because LG phone division loves making these commercials like featuring a celebrity doing something totally Android on their device, and you never actually see what makes the LG special. It might as well be a Samsung commercial, because your Samsung can do the same thing we showed in this LG commercial. Right. So if you're going to start, you start from the top. You start with LG marketing, an internal memo saying, hey, you're coming out with this product for an LG air purifier. You got to show an LG phone using it, and show the phone doing it. And that's where you start. I mean, then your marketing budget is at least inclusive and brings some eyeballs to some of these other products. It's why we see Sony phones in every single Sony movie, even though we know they only sold 1 million phones last quarter. You would think every man of mystery and spy out there was out there rocking Xperias. Papa Drac in Hotel Transylvania is using his Sony smartphone. So that kind of change needs to happen internally first, and then the rest of the market. And the rest of the market.
LG UK.
Okay? I'm good.
LG UK needs to stop showing ads of their smart appliances being used by LG phones, because
but it
literally you watch an ad here.
No,
their fridge, their TV is being operated in the ad by the LG phones. I think you can't buy the LG phone here.
It needs to happen that way. It needs to happen that way, where because again, I feel like there's also sort of a misunderstanding of LG's current customer base. LG really is trying not to sell phones to consumers. LG is really trying to sell phones to carriers and to big box stores. Because then they don't have to deal with phones sitting on shelves. They don't have to deal with stock being devalued. If you want to look at every single clever techie who would recommend G7s and G8s, but wait until the phones are in the bargain bin, that's why we don't have unlocked LGs anymore. Is because LG sold the phone to a carrier, they got their money, and now that product isn't their responsibility. So until they can strike out some kind of deal with UK warehouse stores, UK carriers to buy a batch of phones,
it will be EE event. They're the biggest ones here.
But maybe not. I mean, seriously, they might never.
They're
come
the ones
back
that
to
carried the V50
if they can't.
This year, the V50 is on EE. This year.
Actually, you know what? But that's not a bad gig, man. The V50 is still a monster performer. Anyway, I really do have to.
All right, Juan. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Rolando, and have fun, everyone, and happy and safe.
Yeah, we're almost done too, because we are at the hour and a half mark too. So
let's go, Tom Brady.
So.
I just what I meant is, like, LG here are selling us smart products.
Yeah,
but they're selling it in a way where they assume you've got an LG phone.
They're doing the marketing, but they're not doing the selling. I think I get it. Yeah, no, it's
right. They know damn well. They know damn well you're going to be using another phone here,
right?
To operate
but maybe that's what it is.
They don't care, because you're buying their stuff.
Right, but you get the groundswell. Like, if you're a person that's watching that commercial and you see an LG phone, you're like, well, how come I don't have that phone? And maybe when you walk into these carrier stores, you say, hey, I saw this phone, I saw this phone, I saw this phone. Eventually, they're like, I mean, that's the only way you can do it, right?
Well, it's either the V50 bring all the phones here, back. You don't get the dual screen. Obviously, that's not.
No, the V50 only had that in the Korean
V50.
market.
Yeah,
right.
So, LG TVs in the UK are probably the most popular TVs. You go anywhere, it's an LG TV. Because they are probably the best, and they are quite cheaply priced, believe it or not. For 4K TVs, they're like 500 quid for like.
For us, it's the Roku. Yeah, in the US, Roku wins. Yeah, Roku wins.
But we don't have things. We have Hisense, a couple of Hisense. We don't.
Hisense is not bad. Hisense is decent.
Yeah, Hisense is okay. Yeah.
We don't.
TCL makes TVs are pretty good.
But we only have very minimal amount available on Amazon. Oh, we don't have. TCL don't sell us
TVs. Yeah, it's
only phones.
Yeah, the marketing. Yeah, it's.
I buy Vizio TVs, and I've always had really good luck with them. They're really solid.
Which is weird. You bought the TCL phone, you got a free TCL TV, but they won't sell you the TCL TV.
Yeah, well, that doesn't make
Just
sense.
get
It
one
doesn't
for
have
free.
to. Well, you're thinking logically, why would you do that when it comes to
You can't
tech
buy
stuff?
one, but here's one for free if you buy our phone.
Yeah,
But
Absolutely.
what I meant about the advertising is just the way they budget the advertising, because Samsung, when you see a Samsung ad, you see a Samsung TV, you see a Tab 7, you see their products in the ad, even though they are showcasing the phone. That's the way they
Is that
can
what you
see
get?
And
We get a guy in a skateboard, and then the phone spins around on the TV, and then it comes up Galaxy at the bottom, and then that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it just depends on.
That is literally the ad for the S20 range. This guy comes on a skateboard, videoing himself, and then the phone appears on the screen, spins around twice, and it says Galaxy.
But that's actually the video that they used
Great.
on the live stream when they were actually on the launch of the phone. But
That's the only
I
ad.
guess they just clipped that out of it. But
Yeah.
the thing is that Apple does the same. You buying an iPhone, they show an iPad, they show a MacBook Pro, they show how you can interact between the devices, and that's how you get people into buying that phone or that device. Because if you got an iPhone already and you see the iPad Pro or the iPad Air and like, oh, that looks nice, I can do that with an iPad. I didn't have an iPad, let me go check an iPad, and that's how you get people.
Never buy an
Ecosystem.
iPad
I got one.
unless you need one.
I got one. But
People buy iPads. Yeah, but people, you see the amount of people that have got iPads. You're like, why have you got an iPad? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you do on your iPad? I watch movies. And I'm like, okay, you spent over $1,000 on a thing you just watch movies on. You could have got a Samsung Galaxy Tab 5e for 300 quid to do that.
Yeah.
It's just bonkers.
Look
It
at
is
that.
marketing, but I think Apple and Samsung, they wouldn't need to spend money on advertising for 3 years,
Apple,
and people would still buy their phones.
Here's the thing I've always said about Apple.
They have
they
the
could
brand
never
recognition.
run another commercial for the rest of the company's existence, and they would sell iPhone
They
after
have
iPhone
that's
after
it.
iPhone.
The brand
That's it.
recognition and the people are locked in on the ecosystem.
Well, at least in the United States. I don't know about the rest of the world. But
look
I mean,
at look at the iPhones. For the last 3 years, they've been selling the same phone every year.
Roughly. Yeah.
Just it's the same phone every year, and people still lap it up.
yeah.
but that's the,
No
that's
ads
the, that's the
needed.
thing.
Just it's the new iPhone, but it looks like the
Well,
old one,
but-
flatter sides.
But my wife rock a A+, right, for years, and she really didn't have to change. She wanted an iPhone 12, and then really she got it for like damn near nothing. I mean, they gave her so many credits. I mean, she got it for like $140, and then finance over 30 months. It's
I
like
get that from an 8 or a 7 or 6 or something like that to a 12. Fine. But
That's a big
people are
jump.
going from like 11, 12, getting a new iPhone every year.
yeah, people do
why
that, and they
get
do
the
it in
same phone
Android.
every
But some of them are
See,
in plans
the
already for
benchmarks.
the plans. The Apple offered plans if you buy directly from them. There is it's like the Apple Forever plan, so you can exchange your phone every time a new one comes out. But
Well, I
the
think
thing-
Yeah,
but
AT&T does like an AT&T Next with every 15 months you can just like basically you pay an extra
Samsung
$5
win on
and you can
trade-ins.
just roll over.
yeah,
Samsung win hands down. Samsung's ridiculous for trade-ins. The amount they give you for a phone that's so
Yeah,
old,
it's pretty good.
it is bonkers for how much you can get a new phone for.
But
It is just crazy.
yeah, and
You can't believe it half the time. You think, why are you offering me £500 for a phone that's only worth 50p? I don't understand.
Well, I funny as I took my daughter's old 6S and it needs a battery. It's like at 75%. It needs to be replaced. But I'm going to take it to an Apple store. I'm going to replace the battery in that 6S, and I'm going to rock that thing as just like a spare Apple device, just cause. And it runs iOS 14.4. Imagine that, right? It's like,
see, it could,
oh, dude,
don't think
it's
that it can handle iOS 14.
well, let me just
It's running
ask the last question here. Probably
She's gonna kill
you
itself.
have heard about the news also that Google is shutting down their gaming division.
Stadia. Well, the studio.
The studio.
Stadia
yeah.
studio,
It's
the
the
studio.
ex-
That's a
it's the
that's a dev
Stadia-
studio, right? That's a dev
It's not.
studio.
It's not like anything like. It's just the exclusive.
Yeah,
Stadia
they
games.
it's
They're
not that
just
they're
going to
shutting
rely
down
on third party.
shutting down the gaming. development area.
It's just the exclusives, yeah.
So
I saw that article, but
my free Stadia is now a waste of money.
But my question is,
that YouTube gave me for being a premium subscriber.
I got mine too.
So this is a dev studio, right? So this is Stadia's dev studio internally to Google, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Does anybody know if they were already planning on shit canning that anyway? Nobody knows that.
They were supposed to be developing some exclusive titles, then that never became. And so the short answer is, is it really big news?
Not really, I guess.
The Stadia itself is,
failed more than they were expecting. That pumping the money into exclusives for a thing that's basically dead now. It's a lot of waste of money because they're going to have to spend hundreds of millions on games to get people back. They're going to lose so much money just to try and get people back on Stadia, and there's no guarantee it's going to work. That's the problem with Google. They'll never try. They'll always kill a product before they try and save it.
Well, so is Microsoft. They do that too. That's fair.
Google kills services. Google kill product. You can't buy anything from Google and know it's safe for years because they might just go, "That's it, dead. No more. We're not supporting that thing anymore."
I guess it's a shame because maybe I think there might have been talks about, hey, let's try to see if we can get this dev team to actually grow a couple games organically and see if we can build them. And then it just didn't happen. We're like, well, it's like whatever. It's just like, who cares?
They probably looked at Amazon and thought, we're not doing what they did.
But major companies do that all the time. I mean, there's divisions that move constantly. I mean, it's like, if you
Amazon lost 500 million, which I know is nothing to them.
Who cares? But my Amazon, it's like literally, it's like a drop in a bucket.
Every year.
It's a drop in a bucket for Amazon. They're $1 trillion company practically. So it's like,
but you think about it, in the long term, you lose that once a year, every year for 5 years, you start running into a problem.
Maybe. I don't think
a loss is a loss. It's $1 trillion company or not. A loss to a company that big is still a loss.
Yeah, not really. They write it. They'll find ways to. They'll write it down. They don't care
that as well.
They'll write it down, and they'll. No. Here's the thing. Large companies never lose. They never lose because
I don't know if anyone knows what that is.
Yeah, large companies don't lose. Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, they're not losing. They'll just write it down on taxes. They'll just wipe the division off and it'll be done. It's considered an operational loss, and they're done with it, and they don't care. They'll move forward.
And they wonder why people don't invest.
They don't care if
money into products because they don't give a shit.
Well, they try different kinds of things. They try different ideas, right? They tried the band. They tried Zoom. That's what these companies do. There are people that are in R&D divisions that literally all they do is just come up with ideas. They throw it against the wall. If it gets traction and it sticks, cool, we develop it. If it doesn't, we just basically 36-month write-off, just write the whole damn division off and be done with it.
Much money that I could just make something and throw and hope it sticks.
Well, start your own company. Maybe you can one day.
Imagine making that much money that you can just spend $500 million developing something that may
TK makes that kind of money.
Stick.
TK's rolling in it. TK's rolling in dough. Look at all that stuff he's got.
The YouTube videos, the YouTube money makes all of that happen, of course.
Well, look at his setup, but look at mine. I just got a puce orange peach wall of doom.
Hey.
I look at that as an empty canvas that you can build on. That's how
TK's background has got nothing on mine.
Ever the optimist. I love TK. That's why I love him so much. He's ever the optimist. I love him.
I am going to have to love you and leave you guys because I want to go get some tweet before we do our show.
I'm cutting out. I'm cutting out anyways because we're being at an hour and 50 and we started like talking about everything before actually the stream actually started and we were live. So I want to thank TK for taking his time. I want to thank Juan for coming on, Troy for coming on the show and being part of the live stream. I really appreciate you guys. The surprises down here that Sam and Matt that they were going to show up also on the live stream.
Imagine expecting a surprise and then getting me and him.
That's kind of like biting into an ice game and you're getting chicken liver, right? It's like not so much what I was looking forward to.
But yeah, I want to thank all of you guys to coming in and chatting a little bit about tech and. Like an hour from now, you're gonna have Sam and Matt on their own on Across the Pondcast.
As if we didn't have enough of our BS all throughout this last stream. But Orlando, thank you for letting us come on and taking your time. And it's always an honor, sir. I appreciate you thinking of us. It's been awesome. We really always appreciate.
I need to charge my phone. before.
Yeah, please, could you?
But yeah, and their live stream is gonna be great. Also, their podcast is gonna be great. They're gonna have a bunch of people. It's gonna be a full house. Also, they're gonna have TK back in with them joining for a little bit. Troy's gonna be.
After lunch, yeah, TK's got to get something to snack. I got a pizza waiting for me, so yeah, we're gonna do all that. So we're live.
There's no timing on people. People can come in and out and whatever. Drop in and out the show as they want. 5 minutes.
You got Troy, and you got Zach, and you're gonna got Chris, and you're gonna have
Brian,
Roger.
But if TK doesn't come back, I'm gonna be very upset at TK. I will be mad.
But but thanks for taking the time on Sunday.
You just handcuffed TK into a corner now.
We don't care.
Yeah, but thanks for taking your time on a Sunday afternoon to come in. Next week, I'm thinking I might not be streaming on Sunday. Still not thinking about if I'm going to stream on Saturday, because next Sunday is Valentine's Day, and people want to be with their wives and family and stuff like that. And I'm thinking about if I'm going to stream or not. So I haven't not planned anything for next week. So I just follow me on Twitter, and I'll be posting information about what is happening. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for coming in. If you can hear the podcast after the show, is going to be up in any of the audio platforms. And thanks again. And I'll see you next week, probably.